Beji Jushin Meto Tang Rirani Adi Sanje Shindu Medipo Jambu Namda Chenla Japa Yidang Guru Rana Menda Yanaya Daya Mi said that I didn't Karwa. That did Lu Tambu Shassin by Sarah. Dani gave a chicken drawer to Shechawa Jaro, she Chamba Chimbi Shaba, some gentlemen drive some Jaba Shechawa, Tambo Shessindo,
Again, did Sinmato. Yang do Dr. Jenny, call me some with Saune.
That is it.
Yang do.
Yanda Yang to Daba Channel. Katajina, Kawa Shen Genji, say, Gana. 写其他性的马多瓦是个么？说看我现今经济写了几那瓦没吧？若有啥瓦当这于，俺几天吧，马六吧贵了大瓦，样当样都大把钱呢，是吧？俺你样当都大把钱了，可没啥为啥瓦呢？俺你当你干完查完，俺你几天不样，俺你找我人数写起我加入，是吧？
So the last line that we ended off with was said that someone who is wise and has good qualities, they should recognize that the entirety of the entirety of the world as being without any kind of mental clarity, which is illuminated by wisdom, seeing the world as like that in a state of darkness, view the entirety of the world in that way, and then having examined it over and over again in that way, see the world as like a pit of filth. Samsara is like a pit of filth, and then thinking, just as I will convey myself beyond this pit and draw myself out of this pit of filth, then it's appropriate for me to draw the entire world out of this pit of filth, which is samsara.
Oh yeah, chamba chimbi shaba samja tamja drive samja ba shechawa tambo shesindo oche. That samja tamja drawi samja ba shechawa you want to china drawa. You know, draw you want to china that is draw you want to china samja ba shechawa you want to china. Kashi sherab cheni ji chingwa kunja chojurba. 因此，当你担保也康熙国民东啊哇，可以这样没事把大家拉说找个清，旁边把也抢救呢，定木年纪老不长，啊，那么多比穷困级，给做马路规划的，还得朝啊没钱呢，推退进了盘些叫卖的，是吧？那这个，俺看说的。 康熙写了春年记，谁干了？就康熙写了记，俺那春，我什么当把你都别写了春了，讲的这个写了记春，你们把马里把级别当一记，当然这在北京下呢，是吧？而这新都那边，俺那西边更多教育青蛙，更多，西巴人教完西边更多给青蛙，归马里把接近，现在了。 康熙写了春年节，青蛙归节是吧？俺你归节前，俺你当你夸了炒了去吧。人家当你当蛋白，俺你现在当炒吃吧去，俺你人家当你当现东啊去闹了没随便，人家当你当蛋白，现在当炒吃吧，他呢土当蛋白土用的些家伙加入，是的，我的呢，人家当你这吧也康熙国民哦呀。
So that then explains the explanation of the great compassion, which is there's an explanation of the first topic there, which is generating the attitude of wishing to convey all sentient beings out of samsara. So that's the first topic, and the text says that's the end of that explanation there. And then next comes the second point, which is the generation of mind, bodhicitta, which is the attitude of wishing to liberate all sentient beings. And from that point of view, the second point here is given in the next couple of verses. And it says that one who, with the sharp sword of wisdom, or sharp weapon of wisdom, is able to cut through all of the bondage, and free self and others in that way. One who possesses, it consists of compassion, who possesses compassion, and by seeing that the all sentient beings are without a protector, are suffering, are bound by the chains of desire, etc., in the intolerable prison of samsara, and having seen that the whole world are sentient beings, having drunk the alcohol of lack of conscientiousness, of carelessness, being drunk on the alcohol of carelessness, they are in the deep. They're sleeping in confusion. And in that state, then all of these, the robbers of various forms of thought, have stolen all of their virtues, the mass of virtues. So the person, Bodhisattva there, sees all sentient beings in that way, and then thinks that if I was not to liberate them from that sort of condition, then what's the point of me having power? Or literally, for someone who has power, what's the point of that power? What benefit is it? So that's the verses then that introduce this section. And then so this is elaborated on, explained in the commentary. So first the weapon of wisdom, or it's like a sword which is able to cut all of the mental afflictions, and it's extremely sharp. That sword is able to entirely sever all of the bondage which ties beings into existence being samsara here. And the bondage, the things that bind one in samsaric existence are called fetters. They're a list of fetters actually, but here it's just referencing them in general. And it's able to cut all of those various kinds of fetters that bind beings into samsaric existence. And once one is able to cut that off, cut through the entirety of those fetters with the sharp sword of wisdom, then oneself is liberated, free. And then if someone possesses compassion, in addition to that, and then would think, well, others also, I ought to be able to free others from that same kind of bondage, and thus that itself, the ability to free others from their bondage, is the power of someone who has power.
Oh yeah, 투단된 투인의 세자와 자로스 다 참비 가수 참바셰베 가수 참바세 다중 공리샤바나신 대화된 된도 그 참비 가수 참바셰베 가수 아니 동아단 참이 인제 샤바데라 인제 단위단단 바시베 측면와대 가르해서나 참바단 인제니 수도 저와 중위 7명와 그래 아니 들어 미루어요 말에 순도 저와 중위 7명와 매도 괴매바제 자완이 대발라서요 괴매베 최주단 차위 치로 세다바제 태소 세림레 가세 태소 한번 주요하러와 가로고대 저저 체지어라 네 고대 테마서 대단 바위 신도장 대바다 바위다 신도장와다 땅님다 와자시와다 최여와다 아니 두모매바다 아니 대자매바 남바 미세와 제가 대단 바위 신도장 땅님 다단 바 대단 바위 신도장 땅님 와자시 최여 在万年呢，没些像尊主大都给了穷，这个他这个确据的慢慢落三个就大对吧？确据的差别其实是的，天这位他把他说话，我们比确据的差别其实，你东亚些叫话呢，气泡啊当，我是说话了所谓，东亚当点比起了，是吧？ 동아다와다 댐비치로 근데 그러면 간질 그러면 동아와 세트 간질 그러면 동아와 코리자라 미사와 셰와니 아니 시비 치위는 지바마와 시바 코르기디자마 아니 다 겨와다 가와라 소와기 균지 아니 장다 팔마체피 아니 천이 좀 그냥 용바 쳐바로 자 데시든지 코리자라 미사바 세트 아니 되자라 소변 로기 증시와니 되자라 소와 군도 좋아 군도저와 구보 오세다 군조 구대디나 군조 고스가 짠인 축체 대자 공정 아자 마르바 따와 태소님 모체체 아니 총진이우의 지도창 안 차도다 선나체 디임의 선지다 야부 책무도 되리와 우대체가 총진이우의 지도창 차도다 선나체에 가나 아니 군조 구보테 자조단 차와다기 진비치로 야
So thus, next, in the context here, it says that in the context of discussion of love, we actually, Bhavaveka employed the words consisting of the compassion within that. And so the statement there is, because it was intended to demonstrate that love and compassion function in cooperation with one another. Both of them operate in conjunction with one another. So having it being stated in that context, there's no fault in doing it in that way. Even though it was the point of discussion up there was love, but he mentioned compassion there, and so there's no contradiction in that or no discrepancy. And then in the verses under discussion here, as well, it says without a protector. Here, a protector is referring to these 10 qualities or 10 properties of faith, etc. There's a list of 10 different qualities or properties which are considered to be the protection, and sentient beings are devoid of these 10 properties, 10 qualities, and thus they're without a protector. And then where it says they're suffering, they're undergoing all of the various kinds of suffering. They're oppressed by the sufferings of death, transmigration, and seeking out new birthplaces, etc., all of the various forms of suffering that they undergo within this samsara. And so it says the intolerable prison of samsara. It's the place in which one is bound within existence, and it's a place that gives rise to a great deal of fear, terror, and then and one undergoes all of the various kinds of sufferings of being born, aging, etc., continuously without any kind of breakage, stoppage within the overall process. So the continuity of birth, aging, death, and so forth is analogous to a rope that is hanging one from a ceiling or something like that, a long rope that's tying one up without any kind of break in it. And so this prison has that kind of characteristic of like that, being bound up by a rope. And one's mind is completely afflicted in that way. Well, yeah, and then it says one is bound, chained by the chains of desire, etc. So there's 9 fetters, which include desire, hatred, ignorance, and then there are the various kinds of wrong views and so forth, which are included within that list of 9 fetters. And those are analogous to a chain. So one is bound by the links of this chain.
Oh yeah, that didn't. Palmer be Changtune. Shechawani, and you let Sabak Dejatang, and another Sambaki Shedang, and a Dimu, Lilo Shechawa, and Palmer Shet. Palmer by Chandang, Jawa Danji, near the Chuba War. Never Chuawo, you must be never Chuawo. The Mugi Loba Shechawani, Mishibi Iji, and a Shindu, and a 이월 주바고 세대 밤에 바이 창도는 때문이지 로바탕 대체 때문이지 로바탕 아니 남바도베 첨구지 제자와니 아니 더바탕 내선당 남바 채와 내선당 남바 채와 남바 채와서 왜 남바도바 총군단 자와 타키소 총군바단 자와 타키소 대다 총군단 자와 그래서 말을 그 와다 셔와니 아니 파비 노르진지 노타냐 세야데 파비 노진 대다 수름 퇴다 동 와다 와자 셰다 최 셰럽스 대바 대당 수름 퇴와 동와 와자 셰와 최여바 셰럽 전에 다 대진바를 파는 뒤인데 제자와는 파비 노진지 노탐자 초바 타고 참바집이 샤바 섬전 탐전 조비 섬제바 셰차와 니와 셰신도
So then the remainder of that verse says that one has to view all of the sentient beings in samsara as having being drunk on the alcohol of carelessness. So that refers here to that sentient beings utilize and they become drunk out of they're intoxicated from the alcohol, which is analogous to carelessness, lack of conscientiousness. And so here this is referring to desire, hatred, ignorance, laziness, etc. These four kinds of things which are analogous to alcohol that makes one drunk when one utilizes them or imbibes them. And so then it says they're asleep due to this sleep of confusion. That line or statement in the verses, that sentient beings are extremely fatigued or overcome by the sleep of ignorance, of not knowing how things exist. And then it says the robbers of thought, of different kinds of conceptualization, or thought, actually better here, just thought in general. Here it refers to desire, the wish to harm others, animosity, etc. That all of these kinds of thoughts are analogous, similar to robbers. And these robbers steal the entirety of one's collection of virtue, which refers to these robbers of these kinds of thoughts, desire, etc., capturing the wealth, and wealth here is referring to the 7 forms of wealth of the Aryas, which there's a list of 7 that starts with faith, and then there are 6 others that are included in that. And that concludes then the explanation of this second portion of talking about bodhicitta, which is here explaining great love, and the bodhicitta, which has the desire to liberate all sentient beings.
Oh yeah, that is. Sometimes on chanchu by the chavi, some java shechawa, some people want to chana. On bachuba chanchu by chavi, some java shechawa, some people want to chana. Kashi labe tujube, devakibi, dechun yang. Jibu nuwa sajaba, deva keva mechuna. Kuli ju didang ambodang. 창바 라인지를 다 송바 인자 이만에 창바 라양 잡군 봐. 스바 넘버 잡아다 탑주권에 투모와 렌당 세당 타두당 누라 소요와 민주신 동안 멀리 시제비 ten이 텐도 뉴지지我写자와 매데스 나디 가르쳐我这sana 가시 라베 투주바 세데게 리시 지대나 주 가시기 안에 라게 라베 티 주반 되베 아니 되베 아니 티 주반 되베 깨비 아니 대화 셰충 대화 충우양 셰 충우양 된다위 대화 셰충보당 아니 라니 주보당 주비 아니 가서 론제와 초보당 자셰당 아니 전라 주바탕 아니 따와 매봐 我闲了，等你把大把买吧，这俺看着金把买吧，俺旅行得白贵呢，得白是的，但是旅行得白贵呢，至于什么跟这个什么节，啥话切吧听，开吧能就买吧就把这些的了，啊，康熙那边推这边得白这边得这样，几吨多话才节吧开吧，得白开吧买推，康熙。买去哪？现在军队指挥，买把军队，可听着买把军队军长看着这啥？现在军队机，什么点不起的？现在给什么军队是给什么解不起？提给现在给想法都上话。太阳太大的军呐，康熙那就别太钱的，康熙让给天年级天多呗是。我太先生，买酒呢是这的呢，可能就呢，太阳这酒呢，康熙让给天年级天多呗，就是年呢3,300了，没得吧，让几百多把钱呢，没得吧，一个他3,300了，没得吧。满洲上但人家没得把是对的，没得把让你几百多把钱了，其他的买把就是写下完的这个他妈我是的，我这个这就样几不多啊钱，这样开买就那些，但是这钱你也得给他
So the next shows this bodhicitta, which is in the third sort of form or discussion of it. From the perspective of the bodhicitta, which wishes all sentient beings to achieve perfect awakening, and this is given in introduced in the next verses, and it says that someone who wishes to produce something which of some small happiness for themselves, out of their strength of their own hands, they have the ability in their own hands basically to create some sort of happiness for themselves, and they do that just for their own selfish purpose, and they enjoy it for themselves, then that's something which is disparaged by the wise. Even that alone is something which is disparaged by those who are wise or educated. That's condemned by the wise, and then the rest of the verse says that then it says that what needs to be said of the nectar or amrita, the nectar of understanding the meaning of reality, which is able to pacify all of the sufferings, the sufferings of Sikchela sepa nampa chupatang tapki gon tumongwa lampadang sepa.
아주 관심 라베 데 텐데 데려서 대양 개발 매주나 다 들만 용 필요. 와. 콜기 세바메 거와.
dimage
아.
콜기 왕보
콜기 안보다 총발라야라고 봐 세바 남바 쳐바다 다 된다 가지고 용해 체. 아. 네. So
we'll just do this first verse. So that's despised by the wise. Those who are intelligent or educated despise someone who has the ability to produce happiness, but they do something and they just for their own selfish purpose, and they enjoy it alone without sharing it with others. So that verse introduces this explanation here. So if we say, in the world, somebody who has the power to do something with their own hands out of desire to produce some kind of little happiness for themselves, and they do it just for themselves, and they don't share it with any of their associates, their relatives, any of the visitors who come to see them, they don't offer it to them. And they do this, they keep it to themselves, and out of their desire, they utilize it. And this is done out of an attitude of complete self-involvement or stinginess. And so this is something which is disparaged by those who are wise, because these beings, out of their stinginess, their mind is completely enveloped in stinginess. And if that's the case, then wouldn't it be the case that someone who has by themselves gain an understanding of the meaning of reality, they've obtained that nectar, or here nectar literally, or amrita, nectar of immortality. If they were not to demonstrate that to other sentient beings, but simply having understood it by themselves, not share it with others, how would that be despicable? If the enjoyment of just some little thing that one makes by oneself, selfishly enjoyed by oneself, is despicable, then of course, if you understand the nature of reality and you don't share it with others, that would be, of course, much more despicable.
오야 다텔라 가서래 콜리주자 규다 안보다 참발라서 라권바 시바나바 쩌바당 세데 텔라 콜리주의 자위 콜리주의 대화니 아니 자세를 못한 아딘된 바와 누구다 람보치다 다다 람보다 좀뭐나 마변시셔와 람보치나 진다 담바탕 리시라 왕주탕 유라 롱쩌바기 미 대화 탐제래 안에 사바 세네 태권한이 또 대화한테送给나 사바탕 사바오 안비 대화니 해이 포라나 삼위 해 rum보지 치마 매비 외지 나와 샤와탕 아니 가서 여기 나와 샤와탕 가위 살아서 lonje 신도 샤와고 참빈 대화니 참바르도 참빈 대화니 아니 가서 동수 동라 왕주에 다 참바탕 참빈 내바시 공바 세대다 참빈 내바시 공바서 체미시 공바도 인게래 체미시 공바 나 아니 삼대지 로냐와 삼대지 응시도 버서 아니 로냐왜 유지 대화 아니 대화 탐자라야 하바고 대다라 태권한지 뒤에도 바랍도 끈데세 나 대다 태권한지 뒤에서 바랍도 끈데 공도 샤바 대다라 아니 끈데 스바 넘버 쩌바당 탑지 스바 넘버 쩌바당 세대 강거지 스바 넘버 쩌바 셰샤와니 아니 대바당 스바당 데비 대자당 고만지 아니 대자이나 스바당 아니 타발랑 오바샤바 빵와 셰샤베 타즈고 어디 대체래 스바 넘버 쩌바 타즈고 탑지고나 투모와 셰자와니 소남다 소남 마인 바타니 소남 개와라다 소남 마인 바 미게 바타니 현주라 포 매징 란주시나 데불라 론제비 아니 론제바니 섬전탐자다 투모도 차run데 야 데불로다야.
So now then, the remainder of the verse contrasts. So the initial part of the verse is showing how despicable it is for someone to enjoy something that they create for themselves without sharing it with others, and contrasting that with the bliss of the nectar of this realization of understanding of reality. And then, so the bliss of this nectar of understanding the reality is shown to be superior to that which is enjoyed by all other beings. And here in the commentary it explains that here it says, with regard to the bliss or happiness, pleasure that's enjoyed by a Chakravartin, a universal emperor. These Chakravartin kings that control the entire world, they have 7 special precious things. They have a wheel, gem, elephant, horse, minister, queen, and also a general, these 7 precious things that they possess. They have dominion over the 4 realms, 4 continents of the world. And then they also experience all of the pleasure that can be experienced by human beings to a much more superior degree in terms of their enjoyment of sensual pleasure. So the Chakravartin has that kind of pleasure. Universal Emperor has that kind of pleasure. And then in terms of the pleasure or happiness of Indra, Indra lives in a divine palace. He has goddesses who are draped in all kinds of incredible ornaments, precious divine jewelry, gems and so forth, which are stainless and radiant and illuminate the world in which they live. And then they also, and Indra has a great deal of pleasure within the pleasure gardens in the world of Indra. And then in terms of the bliss of Brahma, Brahma is a god who there's different levels of Brahmas, actually more than one, but there's the Brahma who has control over 1,000 worlds, 1,000 world systems. And then there's Brahmas who exist in the meditation realms of the 4 Brahma states. And then in there they enjoy extreme pleasure of in the enjoyment of meditative concentration, enjoying that. And so they have that all kinds of great pleasure. And so within them, among these beings, even like the Chakravartins and Indra and the Brahmas and so forth, those gods, this nectar of understanding the meaning of reality is exceedingly rare among them. And one reason for that is because this nectar of the understanding of the meaning of reality is something that enables one to eliminate entirely and get rid of. And the verse as such says it cuts off all craving. It's this knowledge of the nectar of immortality, which is the knowledge of the meaning of reality. It cuts off all forms of craving. So what that means there, in essence, is that it enables one to eliminate desire, craving for existence, and even the craving for a liberation in the selfish sense.
Oh yeah. 다 탑주고나 투모와 셰샤와 소남다 소남 모임 바타니 현주라 포함 매지 있으니까나 랑기 소남지 개외래당 랑기 체베 소남 개외래당 소남 모임 바 미개외래다 아니 란다 주시엠비 주태대베 가사 장주라 포함 매지 있어 포함 매나야 개외래지 대부라 롱제바데 주시엔다 투모마 연구를 투모마 차동그래 어때라 아니 체지 천비 텐도 노단 주사바시 임베스 현래 진바 동배치도 노단 주 아니 노단 주초 사바시 임베 시자사 아니 상승기 진바 총양 체럽 현도 남바 멤버래 남바 멤버 범주다 주바 대다를 개회자와 총원남 아니 섬자라 바 오와이나 섬자나라 도신 몰라 요소 줘봐 쳐봐라양 아니 나는 뭐야다봐 저왜 창집지 뒤나 나밤이 비저고 나는 뭐야다봐 저 상제지 고마 토비트나 나밤이 비저고 창매바다 채매바 주대 늘 탐니 섬제 탐제 대화를 주지 시다데 가서 참비내 시간 대화를 주지 제쳐와 이노 야
So then now as far as the method by which one is able to make the knowledge of the
주지 있으니까 아니 말이지 랑기 사베 개와 대다 아니 섬전시라 아니 오와세로
So now once one gains this understanding of the nature of reality, and then through the practices that are connected with bodhicitta develops a great mass of merit. One can't just sort of give that to other sentient beings directly. And so the commentary here explains that by means of method, one can make merit common. And what that means is that it's not the case that one can transfer one's merit or one's demerit to non-meritorious karma. That is the meritorious karma that one has created and the non-meritorious karma that's created. One is not able to simply transfer that into the mental continuum of another person. That's not possible. So what is being referenced here in terms of how it is that other sentient beings can experience and enjoy the results of the merit that you have created in common, how is it that it's possible to make this merit that one is creating something that all sentient beings can enjoy in common? So the example that's used to illustrate this is like in the course of for the purpose of a huge sacrificial ceremony, when one is performing a great sacrificial ritual, one accumulates a big collection of wealth and grain and so forth in order to perform that. And so in that kind of process of sacrificial ritual, just as the material things that one has accumulated are small in the course of that, when one gets together a relatively small amount of material things, the wealth or the grain and such that are going to be offered in the sacrifice, that's small in nature basically, but it's nevertheless, through the performance of the ritual, one is able to accomplish a result that will manifest to a much greater extent, to, like it says, 100,000 degrees in other lifetimes. So just like that, even a small root of virtue that one is able to accumulate, if one is able to dedicate that for other sentient beings, and one is able to make the special kind of prayer so as to make that manifest for these other sentient beings. And then when one achieves unexcelled perfect awakening at that time, the result that will ripen out of that small merit that one has created will become limitless, measureless, incalculable actually, and it's something that's incalculable and measureless. And so here the method that is employed in the context of preserving and developing bodhicitta is thinking, may all sentient beings have happiness. That thought, so this is reference to what are called the four Brahma Viharas, or the four sort of states of purity, kind of literal translation of that, which refers to may all sentient beings have happiness and may they be free from suffering, etc. Those four.
Oh yeah, that is la. Lenda senta tadu dang dula sobe minjuchin. Xie chawala lembani jawa wo. Da sabani ga wo se tao ga jadu de ga ai tao sabani sa ma de san da. Na je xian du jua. Ji de la yi zang. An jawa dang ga wa se de ga de men ruo sang de dai nang de xie yin bu kong qian. Right? Sabani ga wa jawa dang ga wa wo. Tatu ba ni qiwa wo. Oh, lenda seta tatu tang qiwa wo. Dula so wa 看说的，除了说我民族性，除了说别民族性是这个，俺们看说的是呢，说别写起完呢，说过你看中国的是，俺们读写堂是一个啦，俺们瞧读写个东西是读写，是吧？30年的一部瞧读写个东西堂，俺们在新波了罗娘，俺们抄完的话到我主流东西堂，看没宿舍到我。 아니 동아지 동아 동아지 동아 숨당 대다래 동아 숨보 대래 충원 양한다 명아 된바다 동아와당 이미대 봐라 써봐고 소다 대라 써배소 대다 탐제 민주원이 아니 수 마신 봐오 동아 말리 시자바 시자와니 다 광도 시바기 시체바세야 돼. 아니叫와라 소유 동아.叫와다 가와다 나와라 소유 동아. 我天都对的写下完呢，天你安尼天你天多比对的是哦，天你天多对的这个呢，那路东把你条款呢你多比对的是哦，天你的天你天多对的写下完呢，天你天多把你对的，但这个看着中国话的啥呢，两年是七百万。7보면 내년에 7와다 9와다 안 가와라서 와 maybe 아니 공방 토바 집이 치로 사모동반이 더 로지지 어디 어디 가서래 7보 maybe 내년 그 7와다 다와 삼신도 7와다 어디 된적이다 이 전주서 받은 저 아니 내년 그 7와 많이 당 어디 되어와 이지랑 시기리다 삼매지 내렸더니 치보도 된다야 매봐 지혜들의 치보 매비 고만 토바 집이 싫어 야.
So now, next comes the explanation of the remainder of this verse, which is after in the verses it says there, by means of this method, making this common. That's just been explained. And then it comes the explanation of the last part of the verse where it says that this nectar of realizing the meaning of reality, understanding the meaning of reality, which pacifies in its entirety, taking and exhaustion and the conclusion or finality here, and then all of the sufferings, etc., not being changed by them, and then all of the different forms of suffering being pacified. And that's explained in the remainder of this verse, remainder of the commentary on this section. So where it says taking and extinction and the conclusion, and here it says suffering, etc. It's not changed by that, meaning that this amrita or the term in Tibetan is dutsi. It means in Sanskrit, amrita means immortality, literally. So this nectar of immortality is not, it doesn't undergo any kind of change by taking or exhaustion or conclusion or suffering. So the meaning of that is given in the commentary here, where it says that taking refers to birth, taking rebirth. And then exhaustion refers to aging. The text is most likely corrupt here. It says delight, but that doesn't make sense. So it has to mean aging. Is just misspelled here. And then the conclusion, which is mentioned in the verse, refers to death. And then suffering, etc., refers to the three types of suffering. Suffering of being created, the suffering of transformation, the suffering of ordinary suffering. So the first one is suffering of being created, refers to any kind of life which is dominated by mental affliction and karma, that is created by mental affliction and karma. And then transformation is suffering of transformation is how pleasurable sensations are of the nature of suffering and transform into their opposites, into ordinary forms of suffering. And then ordinary suffering is just everyday kinds of pain and misery and so forth, those three. And then from those, the things that arise from those three types of suffering, there's misery, lamentation, the utterance of lamentations, and suffering as such, and then unhappiness, etc., all of these different kinds of sufferings. And then it says that it's not changed, it's not altered by those. That is, this nectar of immortality, which is the understanding of the nature of reality, is not altered by any of these. That means it's not eradicated by any of these. And so then the adjective saying which pacifies the entirety of suffering means that it pacifies all of the sufferings of birth, etc. And then the last line of that verse was that this nectar of immortality, which is the understanding of the meaning of reality. So here, the understanding of a realization of the meaning of reality itself is the nectar of immortality. It's given that name Amrita, immortality itself, because it's the agent that enables one to attain the state of the absence of death and transmigration. So one can read this in a couple of ways, and here the understanding, realization of the meaning of reality refers to understanding emptiness, which is the natural condition of things. And so this understanding of emptiness, realization of emptiness, on the one hand, at one level, it frees one from ordinary kinds of samsaric rebirth, such that one can become a bodhisattva that has control over their process of rebirth and takes rebirth according to uncontaminated karma and out of the power of their aspirations. But then it can also be in reference to the achievement of the omniscient state of a Buddha, in which even that kind of death and transmigration doesn't take place. Even the miraculous forms of transmigration and rebirth that are adopted by bodhisattvas don't obtain on that level. And so that's the explanation of this third aspect of great compassion and the generation of bodhicitta for the sake of all sentient beings achieving perfect awakening.
Oh yeah, that digi. Watoba chibiche, chamba chibi shabatan. Semjatan jong oba changjubi, semjaba shejawa, sumba shesindo. That digi la. Semja nyonsu nyangalan, davi semjaba shejawa, shiwi wandu chana. Semja tamja, onsu nyangalan, davi shiwi wandu chana. Shenyang wanje nyomombe, denji lamba tagini, mela gyuje deba chin, dunga neba kandu chen. Jewa shendu kanda ki chamda nyingul penpa chen. Pela lendu pendaba nyangan dewe shen jiyu. Je chawa mede, da digi shenyang wanje nyomombe sede, shenyang wanje dewi tuitado, ani nyomojanji semji. Ani dula ranjula neba cheba, deja la soyu nyewa ki denji, denji, ani ranji deja la soyu nyewa ki denji lamba chuwa tagi, ani deja ji wangi, ani shen la chun nuba la sowa, chun la sowa ki mebi, lu la ani gyuje deba shindu, ani dunga neba kanda jewa la sowe, dena denji lamba taga ki mela gyuje deba che, dunga neba kandu chen, ani dunga neba kanda jewa la sowe, ani jewa dang gawa dang, nawa la sowe, ani dunga ki neji, lu dang, ani lu ji dunga dang, ani sem yime deba chuwa, tala, ani seba dang, jingwa dang, chun sungwa la sowe, nebe danyi ji, ani dunga ta, cheshi jeba chang, ya deba juda.
Okay. Next comes the explanation of bodhicitta in this fourth perspective, from the bodhicitta, which is the production of the mind, which is intending to place all sentient beings in the state of perfect nirvana, to cause them to be completely pass beyond the suffering of samsara entirely. And that's given in the next several verses. And so I'm stuck on the verses here because I haven't had a chance to look at this previously. So it says, moreover, previously one has been, like I have been possessed by the devil of the passions, mental afflictions, And I've just as I've injured myself in that way and caused myself wounds, and all of the different kinds of suffering, of sickness and so forth, which I've created, and then in other lives as well, I've 개화신도 컨닥이 전단양
규제 대화시 말라 규제
펜델라랜도 펜닥바
알았어요.
다위 신지어 So just as I've done that to myself, the same thing then other sentient beings are doing that to themselves. And so out of in other lives as well, these other sentient beings have treated me with compassion, with love. They've served me and helped me in numerous various ways. And so then in response to them, what other than than placing them within nirvana is there for me to do? That's a rough translation of those verses. So Master Bhavaveka has said that. And so then it says, moreover, previously in the past, out of mind which has constantly been mentally afflicted and has caused me to be injured by desire and so forth. I've been possessed by the demon of all of the various sorts of faults of desire, etc. And in that way, I myself with weapons, etc., have injured myself with out of being possessed by that demon, have injured my body and scarred it and so forth. Just like that, these other sentient beings are suffering by the sickness of birth and so forth, and their bodies and minds are completely miserable, unhappy, and they're being killed, they're being bound, captured and so forth, and placed in prisons and so forth, and undergoing all of these various kinds of sufferings of injury, and have all of these various kinds of suffering are occurring and being created, and no, just.
오야 델레데 가서래 매라 규제 대바신 라 매위 류대라 안에 차줄라서 와고 규제 대바신도 동안 내봐 안에 동안 내봐 간다져와라 동아지 이 류담 미대와 주와 사바다 정화 전화서 와 동아 다 깨봐 탕 스테 야게 와 오 대잘라서 된지 예외 남바쳐 와 다기 아니 동아 대다 깨봐 탕 다되네 개발시도 간다 그 참단 연구 편바체 델라랜도 패다바 양한 대외 현시유 세대기 아니 가서 그래서나 철업 제위 개발시도 아니 파당 마당 부당 조보당 얘도 주와다 얘도 주와 콩 개발시도 되디지도 개발시도 편바당 되디지도 개발시와 송거나 개발시도 편바당 너와 간다기 나라 참바당 인구당 편바샤와 대다라양 아니 대다그라 술 편바샤와라 랜도 편다와니 아니 참저위 청원 말려봐 제비에서 랜이 왕그 청원 말려봐 제바기 제바를 풍부 하만한 대비 양아지 인수 어서 양아랜 다와래 현지 제샤와 자를 차고서 풍부하면 그냥을 대와서는 내년이 풍부 세바 그다 내년이 대 저와다 다디컬로잖아 내년이 풍부 세바 하면 안 되겠나 송자고 있지래 야 그래서
개와 신도 평바다 개와 신도 평바당 대와 더바 칸다키
아니 얘들 좋아라 콩 개와 신도 평바다니 아니 랑근 얘도다 부담 범위 세도 개와 채와데 파 오와 채와지나 아니 대달라 편바당 와 콩개와 채와 신도 편바당 내가 대바 간다기 달라 참바당 인구당 편바 채와 대달라 랜도 편다와니 랑라 편바 채와 그 랜도 파 아니 편다와니 아니 참주위 청원 말려봐 잡아 랜유지 왕기 인zam주위 청원 말려봐 잡아를 풍부 한만은 대비 양아지 인수 원수 양아는 다와래 아니 레니게 아니 왕게 제바 요 말이 현지 요 말이 제자와 자로
So now then in other lives, these beings that are just as I am been tormented by myself and being possessed by this demon of all of the mental afflictions and have injured myself, so all of these other sentient beings are experiencing the same sort of torments in the prison of samsara. And so, but in other lives, if we think about how it occurred in our previous lives, in other forms of birth, then these other beings have been my father, they've been my mother, they've been my son or daughter, they've been my friends, they've been my close relatives. All of them have been extremely beneficial to me. They've done all kinds of things to make me happy and so forth. And out of that, they've loved me, they've served and respected me, they've benefited me in so many different ways. So in response to that, or out of my indebtedness to them, how should I repay their kindness? How should I benefit them? And so then the conclusion of this is, what other sort of way is there to respond to this kindness and to repay their kindness, other than to place them in the state of complete nirvana, which is in a sphere which is completely beyond misery, and in which the aggregates have been completely extinguished. That is referring to the contaminated aggregates. There's no residue or remainder of the 5 contaminated aggregates within the sphere of nirvana. And this is a state in which all of the bondage, meaning bondage here refers to the being bound to take rebirth within samsara, take conception within samsara, has been cut off. So other than that, what sort of thing is there to respond to the kindness that they've bestowed upon me?
오야 디 체럽 제와세데 아니 오란 체럽 제비 제도 제와지 아니 체럽 제디 제와 치면을 내가 가서 아니 니두당 파말라서 와 그런 게 텐도 제와 채와디야 아니야 라라 편바다 오신 아니 체럽 제비 제수 아니 랑게 제와 채와디야 아니 샹라 편바데와 니가를 자요 서래서
So you can actually kind of read the change of different lifetimes in both ways. That in other lives, one functioned as other people's father, mother, children, friends, and so forth. Then vice versa, they've acted in the same way towards us in the same way, and thus, in that way, we can say that we've benefited each other in that way, but we still own that debt of gratitude to them for all of the good that they've done to us.
오야 다 들마 저가로다 아니 참바첨보 샤바 섬장 원수 양알라 대와 셰샤와 아 섬제바 시와 셰신도 야
So that's the fourth discussion here of bodhicitta, in terms of the bodhicitta, which here it's explaining great love, but it's discussing bodhicitta from the perspective of placing all sentient beings in perfect nirvana. Oh, we'll stop there. There's some meeting tonight or something tonight. Oh, Tara Puja, right. Yeah.
기 작당
오소에
The mind of enlightenment is supreme and most precious. Where it has not arisen, may it arise. Where it has arisen without any decline, may it only grow stronger and stronger. The view of emptiness is supreme and most precious. Where it has not arisen, may it arise. Where it has arisen without any decline, may it only grow stronger and stronger. Song dong sin bei ni na
Andre so ni xie dan jiu sa mo ji xian du xi xian song zhe la me den ba zhu ten gui zhu bei dian de gui le zo ben be so zhe ben ru ju den so be be gan ri zhi ji xian da wa lo san ya wa ji ba xie ba ye dian de men ba zhu be xian jian bo 让先对你临接住吧，也不是当年每年节的，家些别老是别过节，别出没觉得那么说我的。 谢当主把姐姐留，姐家的心都年没有别，用多他妈接触现在吧，我的单子全部有钱有。 帮我出的定报告为，也得当380世界的，大公去把那把刀把。 也曾深渊当把牛真手，却当去一路我没把当。 Kye bar jong den ta jo gro wa tang le gan so da ma bi ti le ye men be ten gan de la